once wielding power of the ancient order. Believe, believe the Dragonborn comes. It's an end to the evil of all Skyrim's foes. Beware, beware, the Dragonborn comes. For the darkness has passed and the legend yet grows. You'll know the Dragonborn's come. this wielding power of the ancient North art. Believe, believe the dragonborn comes. It's an end to the evil of all Skyrim's foes. Beware, beware, the dragonborn comes. For the darkness has passed and the legend yet grows. You know the dragonborn comes. Dovakin, alaksimos farin, fodain vokul, mafera kastval, arkfinor och balgran, fodmust honsin drozan, dovakin fahin, kokal mudran.
Hello. My name is Dylan. I also go by Twin Crows in the Skyrim community. If you've been watching these streams before, you might be like, oh, this guy looks different this time. Well, yesterday I cut my hair, and I'm also wearing contact lenses today. I used to wear contact lenses a lot. I actually found that I felt a lot more confident in public when I was wearing contact lenses. So I'd really recommend them. Give them a shot because they increase your real life FOV. You can see a little bit wider than you can with glasses on. So hello, I see Linksmoth in the chat. How are you doing? I've also been cutting my own hair for about 6 years. I have a hair shaver in addition to like my beard shaver. And if you need to cut your hair, you can order one in. They're about $60 or so, but they're an investment. I have the same one that I got I think 6 years ago, or I might have gotten a new one about 3 years ago. But they're definitely a good investment. They usually come with all of the different attachments for different lengths of hair and stuff like that. And you don't really have to maintain them either. So it's not too hard to cut your own hair. It saves you a bunch of time, honestly, for traveling to and from a hairdresser. For me personally, I started cutting my own hair because I'm an introvert, right? I don't really feel comfortable having somebody else cut my hair. So I started doing it on my own, and it's usually not that hard. One thing I'd really recommend is also getting like a handheld mirror. Sometimes if you find one, you can get a handheld mirror with like a little hole in the handle of it. And the trick that I use to do the back, because that's the thing everybody always wonders about, how do you do the back if you're cutting your own hair? Use a mirror. And so what I would do is I have my bathroom, I have the mirror in the front, and then I have the handheld mirror, and I actually attach it to like a string, and I wrap it around the door because I have a mirror facing the door. And yeah, you can use a string, use a handheld mirror, and you can kind of DIY your way out of it. Hey 22v3, I see you in chat too. 22v3 saying, I've been wearing glasses for so long, the few times I tried contacts made anything impossible, too high FOV. That's how I feel when because I usually wear glasses like all the time. And yeah, as soon as you put them on, you're like, oh my god, like I feel like I'm really tall when you have that. So yeah, I have a bunch of notes for today, so I'm going to try and get through that stuff. Hopefully it won't take longer than 15 minutes or so. So we're getting towards the end of the series. This is the Vanua series. I've been doing this specifically for building this dungeon Vanua. So I feel like it'd be a good point to start talking about the future of these streams. So first off, I'm really enjoying this. I think I've found like people who I really enjoy talking to, and it's been a lot of fun to do these streams as like a weekly thing. So I do plan on keep doing them as a weekly thing. You know, scheduling it, I usually try for Wednesday, but I did Friday today. I'll explain that a little bit later. But yeah, I've been thinking of kind of how to advance the streams and how to kind of keep building them. Really, I haven't had all that much experience streaming myself. I've definitely been doing it for under 100 hours still. There's this thing where it's said that it takes about 10,000 hours to become a real expert at something. So if I've only done 100, I still have a long way to go. But if I do want to become an expert, you know, that means that I would need to increase the amount of time that I do stream. So I've been doing 3-hour streams, just considering different things. So maybe either doing 2 streams a week or 2 streams every 2 weeks or something like that. I might consider that kind of stuff. And I might also kind of introduce some other things. So I might do kind of a stream which is modding, and then another stream which is just playing games or something like that. But yeah, so this is the Vanua series. So I'm going to keep on doing these streams the same way they are until I've finished the dungeon. And then after that, I'm planning on doing kind of a highlights video. So I'm going to go through like the 14 or 16 or however many hours of footage there is, and I'm going to try and summarize it and cut out a lot of the quietness, and put the whole thing together so that you guys can see the dungeon being built, hopefully in under an hour, or maybe 2 hours or 3 hours. Just as kind of a more interesting, dense video. I think it'd be really cool to do that. And yeah, for that video, I'll probably try and highlight all the things where I'm teaching something, or, you know, when something interesting happens, so that it's a really nice condensed video. But in addition to that, so some other ideas for future streams, I've been thinking of doing almost like mod reviews in a way, but I probably wouldn't do them the same way as like other people do it, because there's a lot of other YouTubers who are already doing mod reviews. So what I might do is something like a mod overview instead of a review per se. So just kind of the idea for that. For instance, if I'm doing this as a weekly thing, one thing I could do is I could actually just look at, you know, what mods have been published within the last week, and just kind of go do an overview of picking a few of them to talk about, and kind of go, oh, this is really interesting for this reason. So that might be a thing to do. Another thing I've been thinking of is just kind of doing like freestyle modding in a way, like just kind of taking small ideas from the audience and seeing if I can build them. Just kind of small ideas. So like, oh, can we add, you know, maybe a specific merchant? That would be a thing I would love to do, because merchants don't take that long to build, and you can add them fairly easily. You could probably finish a merchant within one stream. And yeah, and like for those reviews, kind of taking my experience as a modder and kind of going into it and adding these different insights. Yeah, like Lynx Moth is saying in chat, kind of, I think the value of me doing this as opposed to the people doing on YouTube is that I have a lot of experience being a mod creator. And it's interesting because a lot of the mod reviewers, they specialize in doing reviews, and I think it'd be interesting to get kind of that insight maybe from somebody who spent a lot of time making mods too. And yeah, I mean, another idea too that I've been thinking of is just continuing on with Beyond Skyrim. I think that's been one of the best things to do with these streams. I think that's been a successful format for these. It seems like there's a lot of people who are really interested in seeing the project grow, and I feel like some of the motivation that I've been given has come from the fact that it's specifically Beyond Skyrim. So I do definitely plan on continuing to make Beyond Skyrim contributions, kind of a core of these streams, but it might be that idea where if I do 2 streams every 2 weeks, maybe that other stream would not be a Beyond Skyrim build, it would be something else. It's gonna turn my, I have an air thingy. There we go. And then yeah, just kind of other changes that I want to do. So one of the things I want to do, I've seen other streamers do this, is you can show the chat with the video sometimes. So that's just like a technical thing I've got to figure out. And I really want to do that because for me and doing this, a big part of my enjoyment is the communication. People who leave messages on the YouTube are just fantastic, because honestly, somebody can leave me a message and it takes them like maybe, you know, less than a minute to write it out, but it demonstrates all of those thoughts that they've had and that feedback that they've had watching these things, and honestly, like, that stuff sticks with me. I think about it throughout the whole week. So the communication is really fun for me and a huge part of what I get out of it, and I think it's also a big part of what everybody else gets out of it too. So one thing I'd love to do is I'll try and figure out how to put the chat onto the videos after I'm finished the Vanua one, I think. And yeah, so streaming, it's been pretty fun. It's one of those things where, like, you might feel anxious before you do it, but the more you do it, the less anxious you get about it. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, so I'm gonna do just a little bit of like more kind of political, you know, that kind of serious content for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll probably get back to doing kind of the chill, relaxed streams. But I just have a few things that I like to talk about. So this Wednesday, I would have normally had my stream, but there was kind of a Twitch protest going on, so that was specifically for sexual harassment and sexual abuse. So, change the music. So yeah, the fact that the stream is happening today is a Friday rather than a Wednesday. It's happening today kind of in solidarity with those protests. And I won't talk about sexual harassment for long because it can be a sensitive topic for people. And the people who would be sensitive towards it are the same people I want to keep in my audience. I care a lot about people. So, but I think it's also important for everybody to kind of talk about it, to make a united front. We all have to be together about these things. In my life, I haven't experienced sexual harassment, but when I was about 20 years old, I discovered that almost all of the women in my life had experienced sexual harassment or sexual abuse. So I felt a lot of rage when I discovered that, really. You know, like, you can imagine discovering that all these people around you had this thing happen to them, and yeah, I felt really betrayed by society, and to learn that women are not being adequately protected and are being left at risk. And yeah, I see in chat, like, chat is also saying, like, yeah, to put it simply, me too. And I think a lot of people also have this experience of learning just how many people have been victims of sexual assault or harassment. It's a huge problem, and we all do need to think about what to do about it, and to really just have this united front and change this. And I think one of the things that we need to change as well is, I mean, a lot of people, these aren't ideas that I'm coming up with. This is things people have been saying for a long time, but we have to really push forward on this now, is that society has been shaming women for speaking out. And I think, you know, how are we gonna resolve these problems if people are being shamed publicly for even talking about these problems? So I'm somewhat glad to see that the situation has been changing, but the thing is, it's only changing because people are going through the trauma of speaking up about their own experiences. So for people like me who haven't been a victim of sexual assault or harassment, but who know people who have, I think we have to push really hard with this, because even though it's tough for us, it's not as tough as it is for other people who have actually been victims. So yeah, so we have to make a united front. We have to do these things together as a collective, and make this change. And yeah, so like for me, I carry a lot of secondhand trauma from my experiences of being very close to people who have been recovering from sexual assault. And that trauma has honestly made me very upset at the world around me. It led me to being non-cooperative with a lot of different things in society. And honestly, I believe that's the right reaction. We shouldn't support a system that doesn't put the well-being of all of us as the first and only priority. You know, we shouldn't be doing anything else until we fix this. Women need to be safe in our society, in places of work, in streets, and we should not stop until that's true. So yeah, these streams will always be, I'm going to do my best to make them a safe place for women. Just the same as I have zero tolerance policy for racism, I also have a zero tolerance policy for misogyny. I'll be very active about that. I have the ability to ban people from my Twitch. I have the ability to delete comments from my YouTube, and I will be doing that as much as I can. I'm going to be very active. I'm going to lay down the ban hammer whenever I feel like it. Yeah, and I see some people in chat as well, so, you know, I'll just read it out. So, first, realizing how messed up the system is, especially with this, can shake one to the core, for sure. And I think it's really important that we talk about this, because it's this problem that, like, as soon as we start talking about it, it turns out that, wow, everybody seems to have an experience like this. And all it took was for us to finally, you know, break down that shame about speaking about it, and we need to kind of defend each other. Yeah, so I think that I'm going to focus, that's going to be the political discussion. The other thing, I'm just going to briefly talk about it as well, is just the Black Lives Matter movement again. I'm leaving that tag up there on the streams. It's probably going to be up there the same in the YouTube videos and things too for the rest of the Vanua streams. But yeah, so just for those of you watching this who are curious and you want to build your consciousness, I have a few things I want to show you in terms of just Twitch channels you can watch, and these are things that will help you build your consciousness about protests and things like that. So just to make sure you guys are connected. So there's two channels I'm going to show you guys. The first one is twitch.tv/woke. And woke woke is a channel that is kind of they're combining a bunch of, let me bring my notes up again so I can explain it. So woke is a combination of other protests and riot streams. So if you want to get like a bird's eye view of what is going on in America, woke is a fantastic channel for this. Every night they try to keep up as long as they can. They're offline right now, but I'm sure they'll be back up later on tonight. They're a fantastic place to go if you want to just see, you know, footage from people who are on the ground doing these things. I find it really educational. It teaches me the things that I need to do and to kind of be careful, especially if you are going to go into protests, as well as if you want to support people who are. This is a fantastic nexus for finding all that kind of information. So definitely take a look at that, and if you're interested in that. And yeah, the next one I want to show you guys is also Teebs Gaming. Teebs Gaming is just one. I actually found them through the woke that woke Twitch kind of combining stream kind of thing. Teebs is interesting because if you want to watch protest footage, you know, with a gaming, somebody who's actually into Twitch and gaming normally, Teebs Gaming is fantastic. Yeah, they do a great way to do it because they can the way that they do it, I actually really like the way they do it because they don't do any commentary. They actually they're walking around with a steady cam, and so you really get this sense of being there. And I think that sense is fantastic because it's very transformative. You get this sense of, this is what it's like to actually be there in Portland. So you get the sense of what it's like to be there. And yeah, I see that in chat. I'm gonna figure out how to host channels. I think I'm gonna do that now. I was, you know, for me, I'm almost having this like political coming out period of before I was kind of anxious about expressing my political views because they're kind of radical. And I was worried that would kind of sabotage my success at modding. And now I don't think it will. I think we've changed, and I feel a lot more comfortable pushing, even though that there is some pushback. I know that there's enough support behind me to do these things. So yeah, I can for sure, like when I finish up on my Twitch, I will consider hosting, you know, places like woke, just, you know, things like that to make sure that everybody can see these things. So yeah, just a few more words about Black Lives Matter. So this is not a movement that's going to end anytime soon. It's going to get deeper. People, you know, I studied political science. I spent 5 years at a university studying how, you know, cities and countries and beliefs and societies, and for sure, like, there has not been a protest or a movement that has had the same scale and momentum behind it. So this is a movement that's going to go on for a very long time. It may go on for our entire generation. So get comfortable with it. Figure out a good way to engage with it that doesn't tire you out, so you can keep going. Yeah, because, you know, this is our world. So I am trying to collect some money from the modding community towards Black Lives Matter. I know modders as an audience, you know, we don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of money either. So I'm not sure how successful that idea of trying to collect money is going to be. What I might try to do instead is try and get people to sign petitions and things like that that don't cost money, but can make an impact. So yeah, but if you can afford to make a donation, like $5, $10, I would be really impressed. I would love that idea of being able to collect some money to put towards Black Lives Matter. So I do have a link on my Twitch page, and then also when I upload to YouTube, I'll have a link there as well, where you can donate some money, really just in the name of Skyrim modding, towards a charity called Color for Change. So please consider that. That would be something interesting. I mean, you can donate however you want, but I think it would be interesting to collect some money in the name of Skyrim modding. So yeah, I think since I'm about 20 minutes in, I think I will go forward. I had a few more notes, but I don't want to make it too much, so I might save those for next time. But yeah, so I actually have a few other things about just Elder Scrolls stuff, really. So yeah, I am gonna open my beer here though. I have a larger beer today. I've been thinking about opening this one up for a while. I've had it in my fridge for a while. It is called Night Watch Coffee Lager, and I don't think I'm gonna drink this whole thing on my stream, but I will certainly crack it open. I have like kind of a wine kit that has like a cork kind of thingy that I can attach. This is probably a twist off, but I do not care. I work on computers all day. So twist offs are always painful on my hands. But yeah, this is a Night Watch coffee lager by a company called Lighthouse Brewing Company. And it's just like another, I've been showing a bunch of these beers we have around Vancouver, and they're pretty good. I like this one because it has a good taste to it. It's a coffee lager, which I wasn't so sure about at first, but then I had one, I'm like, oh my god, this is really good. Link's Moth in chat. Yes, barley soup. I feel like it's one of those weird things to me. Beer is kind of ritual in a way, and I know that like at first I didn't enjoy the taste of it, but it's almost this ritual thing, and I don't know. I also drink coffee, and coffee can be kind of bitter too, so it's just one of those things. And you know, when I drink coffee, I don't make it too sweet or anything like that either. All right. So I think I have, oh yeah, so I have a few more notes. I had them on the screen for a little bit when I moved them over to my other screen. I want to show you something interesting I was talking about last time. So during the stream last time, I was talking about a mod, which is actually really fascinating in terms of the history of modding. This is one of the most interesting things. So you guys probably know an author called Terry Pratchett. Terry Pratchett created the Discworld novels, and Terry Pratchett also contributed to a mod. The mod that Terry Pratchett contributed to was called Vilya, and it was back in Oblivion. So we had an actual professional author who helped write some dialogue lines for a character, and so that character was voiced. It used to be a follower in Oblivion, but this is such a fantastic mod that they recreated it in Skyrim. So if you're interested in checking out a really interesting, almost like a historical mod, Vilya in Skyrim, super fascinating. I'll try and find the part again where I can show you where they mentioned Pratchett. So here it is. More than 50 lines of chatter dialogue written for Vilya by Discworld author Sir Terry Pratchett. So it's an interesting part of modding history. And then another thing, because I'm thinking, you know, I do these every week. Sometimes it's a while before I get to chat with you guys again. So I also want to show you a few other things too. And I kind of want to talk about Daggerfall. So Daggerfall is something in kind of, you know, the same line of like obscure Elder Scrolls history. So Daggerfall is just a really fascinating older version of Elder Scrolls. And I'm parched, so I'm gonna drink a little bit. Talking a lot does that. Okay. Oh, that tastes good. Okay, so not a lot of people know what Daggerfall was like, but to let you know the impact of that game, it was released the same year as the original Diablo, so it was competing for a lot of those gaming awards, and in a lot of the awards that Diablo won, Daggerfall was the runner-up. But, you know, of course, second place is usually kind of forgotten, so people forget that, but Daggerfall got runner-up to a lot of the same things that Diablo got the actual award for. Some of these games you'll go back and try and play them, but they can be difficult to play, right? Because the UI, the interface isn't all that great. They can be actually kind of stressful to play. And you know, I can even say that as being somebody who plays like Dwarf Fortress, and I play Cataclysm. These games that are really, you know, they're like almost text-based games. And I tried playing Daggerfall and I found it difficult to play too. But it is a fascinating game, and the first thing to talk about with Daggerfall is the scale of the world space is huge. They use procedural generation to create this world, and the world space actually takes 69 hours to go across. So Skyrim takes 30 minutes. Daggerfall is 14,000% bigger, or 140 times bigger than Skyrim. And this game came out the same time as the original Diablo. So it's... in chat, Link's Monster's like, nice, 69 hours. And so the crazy thing about Daggerfall is that it's literally just a subsection of Tamriel. It's not even the whole Tamriel. It's just a little bit of it. It's an area called the Iliac Bay. And it's just fascinating. Like, imagine if we had used that same technology to build the Elder Scrolls games today. I think it would just be amazing. And Daggerfall itself, it represents almost this completely different direction from previous games. In terms of the Elder Scrolls games, there's almost this period. There's a pre-Todd Howard era and a post-Todd Howard era. I mean, there was a lot of people who also shaped the Elder Scrolls, but those changes in Elder Scrolls' direction, they also kind of coincided with Todd Howard. So it's not necessarily that Todd Howard was calling the shots, but he just happened to be there at the same time that these changes were making. And yeah, I mean, dare I say it, I might have preferred if they had continued in that trend of procedural generation. There's a lot of games nowadays that use that, like Minecraft is a big one for procedural generation, where it creates this infinite world for you. And in Oblivion, they did use some procedural generation to help them create that world space, because it was bigger than the one in Morrowind. They used procedural generation to create bushes and trees and rocks, and to place them around in kind of an interesting area. And then what they did after that was they kind of tweaked them. So it's kind of a way to handle that scale, doing this kind of generation. And yeah, in Skyrim, they also use some procedural generation, but again, we didn't get back up to that enormous scale, right? Like Daggerfall, 69 hours to go from one side of the continent to the other. That's huge. And in Skyrim, they did use some procedural generation, but they used it for like quests and things. So like you'll go to an innkeeper and they'll be like, oh, yo, go and kill a bandit here. Which was interesting, but I think it'd be more interesting if they got back into the procedural generation of dungeons or things like that. I think it's interesting. And it's a very different making from Morrowind. There's a big difference between this procedural world that takes, you know, almost 70 hours to go across, compared to Morrowind, which I think it takes like 20 minutes or something. It's pretty quick, 10 or 15 minutes maybe, to go across all of Morrowind. So if you're interested in exploring kind of that alternate possibility, I have a video I want to show you guys, and this is where I learned all this stuff. I'm gonna get the link for you here. There we go. So this is a really fascinating interview with somebody who worked on, actually one of the lead, like the main programmers for Daggerfall, and he's almost like this forgotten child of the Elder Scrolls and Bethesda. Actually, he used to work at Bethesda back when they were doing those things, and he's one of the programmers who really designs and explains a lot of the way that they created this game. And it's just, this is really cool. Like I'm sure a lot of people watching this also enjoy these kind of long form videos. This interview is probably the most fascinating one about Elder Scrolls, because it's talking with almost this forgotten child of Elder Scrolls who really, you know, some of these early programmers, they should have totally gotten royalties. They should have gotten a whole lot more from Bethesda than they did. So I think it's interesting to hear from these people and hear their experiences. And this is one of the most fascinating ones, because he'll go into detail about how the game, you know, Elder Scrolls, it could have actually been this completely like radiant, procedurally generated game, but instead it ended up kind of having this kind of specific story. I think Julian Lefay, he refers to it as a dollhouse, which is at least kind of a way of describing just that difference between what Daggerfall was and what Morrowind was. Where Morrowind, you're really designing, you're setting up these scenes, you're setting up these characters, whereas with Daggerfall, it was all kind of random. So it's an interesting way to look at it, because if you're ever a fan of, like, you know, looking at history and going, oh, what if this happened differently? This is totally a great video. And I have another video as well for Daggerfall. If you just want to see somebody play it, I would recommend Lilia. Lilia's really entertaining, and she did a playthrough of Daggerfall here. So I'm gonna put these both. I'll put them in so you guys can see that. What I try to do, because I want to put it on YouTube too, is I'm gonna put these ones. I hate that I have to give you a link like this, but you can see the link there for that one. So this is the Julian Lefay interview, and then over here, oof, this is no good. I think this is probably the easiest way to do it. I'm just going to give you the first video. I'll put these into chat as well. So these are the two videos. So the first one's the interview with Julian Lefay, and then the other one is Lilia's playthrough. So it's fascinating. Daggerfall's a completely different game, and yeah, I'm just gonna go through the chat because I was rambling for a little bit. Fleet Duelist is saying the thing about procedural generation is that it's really tricky to get it right, and Bethesda lacks the knowledge to make it right. I think that's fascinating because, like, the thing about Julian Lefay is he's still there. He's still, you know, Bethesda could reach out to him and be like, hey man, can you help us figure this stuff out again? And I think that he'd be like, yeah, you know, maybe, pay me a lot of money, but yeah. Fleet Duelist, just look at Radiant AI. Yeah, I mean, Radiant AI, I felt like it worked better in Oblivion than in Skyrim. Fleet Duelist also saying, lots of games in that era were experimenting with either procedural generation or something similar. I think it's so cool, and it's also, because I follow like indie gaming too, and there tends to be a lot of procedural generation. I watched a lot of interviews with like Tarn Adams, who created Dwarf Fortress, and there was another video, I don't know if it was him or somebody else saying this, but they were saying that there are systems that are fun for the player, there are systems that are fun for the designer, and there are systems that are fun for the computer. And Dwarf Fortress is very much a kind of game that is fun for the designer. And I mean, a lot of us get a lot of enjoyment out of just these randomly generated stories, but it's just interesting to kind of look at, you know, I think procedural generation is really cool. I love the idea of a computer generating something, especially like a really detailed map that, you know, it takes 69 hours to go across the Daggerfall map. I think that's really interesting, and I'd love to see the next Elder Scrolls maybe take that into its design a little bit more. Yeah, and Fleet Duelist saying in chat, XCOM UFO Defense comes to mind. Yeah, the XCOM games are awesome too. And I think that, yeah, like, even just that idea of like having like a whole lot of different options and things like that, I think is really cool. Fleet Duelist also saying, procedural generation is easier than handcrafting 50 maps. You can feed personalized cells to a randomizer and make them connect. That's cool. And then also mentioning a mod called, for a Minecraft mod called Dimensional Doors that does something like that. I think that's really cool. I would love to see that same scale attempted again as Daggerfall. I think that would be really cool. Alright, I think I'm almost at the end of my notes. Oh yeah, and just another thing. So I think there was E3 between the time... I don't know if it was between this time and last time, but E3 happened and there wasn't any Elder Scrolls announcements at E3. And I think a lot of people kind of, when they see that, they're like, oh man, like it's going to be so much longer till it comes out. But for me, being a modder who's still working on Skyrim 10 years after it's been created, I love hearing that the game is delayed. Because on one hand, I know the mod's going to be even, or I know the game is going to be even better when it comes out. And on the other hand, it means that I have more time to mod Skyrim. And I know that, you know, even if it's going to be 3 or 4 more years until the next Elder Scrolls game comes out, I know that I'll probably be playing it for 10 years after that anyway. So I think I'm fine with it getting delayed, if it is delayed at all. I'm fine with it taking a lot of time to be created. Because, I mean, we have a lot of work to do still on Beyond Skyrim. So, yeah, let's get at it. Yeah, so for this... So Beyond Skyrim, I've been working on a dungeon called Vanua. Vanua is like an underwater dungeon, which I have created all the rooms for. And now I am going through and I'm doing the decorations, I'm doing the enemy placements, which are... It's probably my favorite part of doing level design. Because I get to just mess around and look over the whole scene and go, oh, this is a cool piece, I'm going to try and copy that and paste it somewhere else. And I get to really put in those details of the level. And I think maybe not this time, but maybe next time. Next stream. Oh, also for next stream, so next week I will not be able to do a stream. So that's another reason why I'm giving you guys this other content too, is that definitely check out those things if you're looking for some more Elder Scrolls content. Check those out because I won't be able to do a stream next week. I'm going to just visit my parents for a week, and then the following week I'll be back. So I think my next stream will probably be on the 8th of July. So yeah, I'll be away for a week. And yeah, so I'm gonna go through the dungeon and take a look at some things, and then we will figure out what exactly to do for the building. I think what I'm gonna be doing is putting a lot of rubble around. I like the idea of collapsing it and making it look a lot more collapsed than the Oblivion version was. Yeah. In chat we have Fleet Duelist talking about I really hope Elder Scrolls 6 comes out decent. ESO did some things wrong, but it did some things really right. One of the things that I love about ESO, and I actually use this to inform my building of these Ayleid ruins is I actually really love the way that ESO did their Ayleid ruins. I think they're just fantastic. They integrated a bunch of new colors, which is perfect because the Ayleids are these wild elves. They're known for kind of like worshipping things that were different, right? So the original elves based in like the Somerset Isles, they had a few different gods, pretty much just all the Aedra that they worshipped. But the wild elves were crazy. They worshipped the Aedra, they worshipped the Daedra, they worshipped whoever they wanted. And I think that's one of the cool things about the Ayleid ruins is really they're wild elf ruins. So we can do a lot of interesting things. I also love how they integrated more plants into the ruins too. I think that was brilliant. I think in Oblivion they were pretty sterile, and in ESO they did fantastic. The levels and stuff are quite good in ESO. I think it's interesting because the game itself is very different when you play it as an MMO versus playing it as a single player game. And I do hope that the next Elder Scrolls will just make it a single player game. Makes it so much easier. People feel attacked when you take away the single playerness of the game. So here's something. I'm going to start with this. I have to connect this tunnel over to this area here. So I'm going to focus on that for my first thing to do. Should be pretty easy. I'm just going to throw some boulders and stuff in. Boulders are great. Whenever you have a problem in a ruin, you just clear it up with a boulder. Fleet Duelist asking in chat, how often do you scrap a whole section of a map? I'm getting into Hammer Editor and I feel like sometimes I don't like what I build. I try to move forward. I think, because I've been doing this for a while, and I actually have a little bit of experience with Hammer. That was actually one of the first things that I tried modding. I never released anything for me it was kind of Gary's mod stuff. I thought Gary's mod was awesome. And yeah, I think actually I think it was Zombie Master. There was a game called Zombie Master that I really enjoyed, which was a kind of an indie multiplayer game where one player controls all these zombies that are like NPCs, and then it's like an RTS for that Zombie Master, and then the other players are just like zombie survivors trying to run around. So how often do I scrap a section? Nowadays, I mean, I'm as far as my Beyond Skyrim contributions, it doesn't happen too often, but honestly, there are a few things where I'll do it, and then I'll think about either redoing the whole thing or just leaving it. One of the big things that I try to do, and the advice that I can give on that part, is try and always move forward. And sometimes if you don't like something, you can adapt it rather than get rid of it. Or actually, it depends on what stage you're at, because if you're still learning the tools and everything, it's totally fine to just like build a piece and then just like not use it. That's totally fine. Sometimes what I would do when I was learning the kit for the Ayleid runes was I would just build a bunch of interesting rooms, and I didn't proceed on all of them. So like I would build some interesting stuff, and yeah, I think the only thing I'm having difficulty with is just the word scrapping it, because I think sometimes for me, I'll build something. It's kind of like, I guess you'll have like a plan on a piece of paper, and even if you don't proceed with it and finish it, it's still valuable because it leads you to learn more about the system and everything like that. So even if you don't follow through with an idea completely, it can still be very important and valuable. one of the things that I loved about Zombie Master, because this was a game I played when I was like 15, 16, 17. So pretty much 10 years ago. And that was the early internet when things were crazy, but like not completely crazy. Yeah, that's my advice, would be try and repurpose it. If you can, if it's possible to just like drag the piece away into like a different area of the map, and then maybe like use it later on. That's the best way to do it. Yeah, and Fleet Duelist in chat saying Hammer can be a heck of an editor to use. I feel like I'm fighting the program sometimes. I feel that, and a lot of times, for me with modding for Skyrim, that was my experience when I was learning the tools and figuring out how all of it works and everything. That is for sure how it feels like when you're starting to build it. The thing that I love now, that I've learned how the creation kit works more, and I figured out what it likes and what it dislikes, because there are going to be some things where it's just easier to do it differently or change your ideas of what you want to do rather than get the kit to work the way that you hope it would. Because unfortunately there are certain things it likes, certain things it dislikes, and the tool is kind of an inanimate object. It's hard to get it to do things that it doesn't want to do, so sometimes figuring out what works and going forward with those is the best way to do it. But yeah, I think it's always funny to, I don't know, whenever I try to explain stuff, I always try and explain it, you know, there's like this clear way to look at it, and then there's an exception. And I think the exception to that, like, with the kit, you know, having it work a certain way, sometimes if you try and fix it for long enough, you'll get to like a eureka moment where you're like, oh yeah, there we go, I finally figured out how to do that and how to get that working. And you don't get to that eureka moment, sometimes you don't ever, but you don't get to that eureka moment without putting a lot of pressure on it, and without just keeping trying and keeping trying different things. Try to do things a little bit differently and see if that works. It's the crazy thing about working with computers is that they're always like these binary systems that they either work or they don't. And sometimes it's just a matter of making it and asking it to work in a certain way. Fleet Duelist in chat. Nah, the tool is alive. I feel it laugh at my face when I try and add a door. It could be haunted. People say that about these kits sometimes, that they're haunted. I'm gonna turn the music up. Actually, I forgot to do that. I turn it down when I talk, and then I didn't bring it back up again. Alright, this is coming along. So, I had an idea for this room here, where I was thinking of maybe putting these vines around, and not quite making a maze, but at least making like a few obstacles to add some definition to the room. I think it might be fun to do that. There's always these different stages of development of a dungeon where you start out by building all those boxes of rooms, and that can be a somewhat challenging part, but you're always like, you're building the most important parts of the dungeon when you are creating the whole structure. The rooms are like the foundation for the level, and then after that you get to do all these cool details. Like, I get to do these details now, and this is my favorite stage because I just get to be in the level for a while and build it out. Oh, that's cool. I'm gonna make this, so it's gonna be, this dungeon is gonna be like a Lich theme. So I'm starting to build these sort of, it's gonna look really old, overgrown. There's an inspiration. I brought it up a long time ago, and funnily enough, it is the cover of Daggerfall. This guy is the inspiration. This guy right here. This is the inspiration for this dungeon. It's going to be this weird, creepy Lich. I'm going to try and bring forward a lot of those colors. Especially, so here's the alien lighting on that side. There's kind of a torch lighting on the other side, so I might get some torches going on. And I'll see how it goes. It might be fun to do a Lich and Goblin dungeon. Fleet Duelist. So you feel like building rooms with connection is easier than connecting them, is easier than trying to build a room by room. Yeah, give me one second. I'm just gonna read that again. Building rooms with connection to each other is easier than building it without a connection. I think that it is. Yes, I think that's the easiest way, is you have a room. The thing I try to do with rooms is figuring out how many exits is the room going to have, and then how do you connect them together? Because at least for Skyrim dungeons, the rooms, you typically separate them a little bit, and the reason for that is because each room, the enemies you place have a radius of, like, attack radius that they're going to have, where if you're within that radius, they're going to fight you. And you don't want to have rooms of enemies all kind of running through every room chasing you kind of thing. You want to have each encounter being in its own room and separated from the other encounters. And so the best way to do that is you build these hallways between each room to really separate them in terms of the space. And yeah, so like for instance in here, I'll see if I can demonstrate that. So yeah, okay, so you have your entrance here, and then you have this hallway that I might have an enemy or two in there, and then you have this cave that might also have an enemy or two, and then there's this tunnel. So this tunnel is kind of a better way to show it, is you have a room, you have a little tunnel, and then you have another room. And the big reason to do that is because it separates those two encounters, so that you have this encounter in here, you have that encounter in there. And it's kind of a level design philosophy thing, because sometimes having those separations lets a player go through and explore this as a separate thing from the other one. So it's good for players who are into, like, completion. A lot of people are. They like the idea of knowing that they've finished a room before they go to the next room. I'm gonna put... I really wonder if I want to do that. I kind of want to do goblins. I love goblins. Put some goblins in here. I also love the idea of, like, goblins and the Lich working together, like that kind of unholy alliance. Something back here. Oh, there we go. I just had something hidden. Alright, let's see if I'm gonna add a goblin. We have so many cool kinds of goblins too for full bright on. There we go, now we can see it. We have tons of cool kinds of goblins. We were Cyrodiil goblins, so CYR gone. Saboteur. Small technical question, if you will. I'm making a mod. How can I award perk points to be spent on a specific tree only? Is it possible? I don't know if that's possible. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of experience working with the skill tree stuff. But what I would recommend for you is If you're going to be building it on PC, you'll be probably using the Skyrim script extender. And so the best way to do that for Cybertor, for you, the best way to do it, I would say, is look into the Papyrus documentation. I'll find that for you real quick. Yeah, that's the thing I would recommend, is look into how the Papyrus handles it. Sometimes it won't have a direct way for you to do that. So yeah, I can't think of a specific direct way to do it. A lot of times what we do with the modding is unfortunately limited by whatever tools are available. So here's in chat I put the Papyrus wiki, and I'll show you guys on YouTube as well. So this is the site for the so this is the site for the Creation Kit wiki for the Papyrus documentation. So this is where you go if you are wanting to learn about how to write Papyrus, and that's probably what you'd have to do for that one. But the thing that I would caution you, Cybertor, is it may not be easy to script. That might be something pretty difficult, because sometimes it's easy to do scripting for like moving an object here or there. But sometimes if you're trying to do some more advanced stuff, it gets to be pretty difficult to figure out how to do that one. So yeah, what I might recommend is if you have an idea for like a mod that's specifically like that, you might have an easier time figuring out kind of a different way to do it than necessarily like perk points for a specific skill tree, because I'm not sure if that would be an easy thing to implement. But I don't know too much about those perk trees either, so it might be easier than I think. All right. Cool. Yeah. That's the best thing I can do is give you the tools to figure out how to move forward on that one. No problem. So what I'm looking at here is there's a bunch of different goblins, and I'm thinking that I'm gonna put some goblins here. We have a couple tribes. So we have a Deep Root tribe, Cracked Skull tribe. There's some really cool ones. Firebelly tribe, Goldfinger. I wonder if they would be... Goldfinger are kind of like... they get paid to do things. Venom Vein. Some really cool ones. I feel like Deep Root might be interesting, because it is a pretty deep down dungeon. Blue Scalp. Bloody Hand. Bloody Hands. So I was thinking of that. Either that, or I might just do Undead. Sometimes it's hard to figure out how to integrate goblins. So it's either goblins or... look at what the zombies look like. Oh yeah, our zombies are creepy. You know how like the Oblivion zombies were creepy? These ones are super creepy too. I might do that. I think I'm gonna keep it kind of a... yeah. I'm gonna keep it a little bit traditional. I'm gonna stick to zombies and skeletons. I think that's nice, because then it makes it a little bit easier. I don't need to don't need to integrate all of those like goblin props, because the goblins have a lot of different props too. And it'd be nice to just kind of put some rocks and things like that, rather than having to add a bunch more. Plus, I think it'll make the existing goblin ruins a little bit more special. Yeah, this is cool. So there's this little arch here that you go through. vines growing on it. I love the idea of these vines because, to me, like, overgrownness is a very elven thing. Having, like, nature in and around it, I think is really cool. So with lighting, one of the best things to do for level design is making sure to light the doors. Making sure the doors have some kind of a light. There's something to do with a language of lighting that happens in games where light draws the eye of the player. And so a lot of times it makes sense to have the light point towards different things of interest. So doors are a big one. Having light pointing towards treasure is also another big one. Plus lighting just looks so cool. Whenever you add lighting to a scene, it just makes everything pop up. I think I am going to put a few torches. I was debating it, but I do love the look of a torchlight. So I have goblin torches I can do. I have normal torches. I think I might do is I'm going to add my lich. So we have an alien lich. Yeah, I think it's an alien lich specifically. So I'm going to duplicate their lich, and I'm going to make it Vanua lich. And I'm going to place him. I was thinking maybe over here would be a good spot. I'm just going to refresh this so we can see everything. Bronze Lich. It's gotta be over here where the treasure is. I think that's gotta be the best place. Yes, this looks so good. The lighting, this green light. Oh my god, I can already imagine fighting this creepy guy. Alright, what do we have here? I could give him a name too, that might be really cool. It's got some gold on it. No other items though. Maybe this wasn't a good one to copy from. I'll have to look at the other liches to see what they have. Because there's I guess you give them certain items. Yeah, I'm gonna open up these boss liches. See what kind of items they have. So Elchar, the elite boss lich. So I have to kind of go through the tracks here. Hello, Spaceman 2202. How you doing? Thanks for going. Just looking through the liches right now to figure out how I want to equip the lich that's going to be in Vanua, the final boss of the dungeon. Oh, cool. So Spaceman's saying they got on Iliac Bay and Black Marsh. That's so cool. You got on those projects. Nice, you're working on like Goblin Mine for Cyrodiil. That is awesome. I'm so stoked because yeah, I remember you were saying that you had recently gotten on the project, and I think that is so cool. That's one thing about the Beyond Skyrim projects is that there is a way that we kind of like onboard people. You can get here from, let me see if I can open up. Open up my Discord. We have a couple channels for kind of onboarding people, and the first one is called the Arcane University. It's the Beyond Skyrim Arcane University. Let's see if I can get a link for that. And this is a place where people are welcome to go to the Arcane University, which is a Discord channel. So Discord is like a chat program that we use. And let me see. I'm trying to figure out how to do links. I don't know if I can remember how to do links on Discord, but I'll just bring this up for you guys and show you it here. So this is the Beyond Skyrim Arcane University Discord channel, and there's tons of places. This is kind of, if you're learning, we have this student showcase, so like you can show, you know, whatever you're working on. Somebody's working on things there. Yeah, 2TP3 saying the Arcane University is almost intimidating by how friendly and interactive they are. And honestly, like, you know, me being a modder, I don't actually often go onto the Beyond Skyrim Discords at all lately. I kind of operate like autonomously, doing my own stuff for the project. So don't feel like you need to get into all this stuff. Like, I'm not a super. I'm just looking through all the student showcase stuff. So this is just things that people are showing that they're working on. You know, sometimes it's nice to just put that stuff out there to get people to react to it and motivate you. Especially with some of these projects, it takes a long time, so it's great to be able to show that stuff. Yeah, here's the level design. Yeah, I mean, there's people talking on today at early in the morning, but yeah, people are doing stuff on it. Yeah, so that's the Beyond Skyrim Arcane University. The best way to get there, let me look at way to get there. Okay, so yeah, here's the best way to get there, I think. Is so what I Oh yeah, I am muted. Thank you. I wonder how muted I was muted for. The unfortunate thing is I have my back button on my mouse tied to my like turn on or off mute thing. So I don't know how long I was not talking for, but I'll try and repeat some of the things that I said. So I hope I was showing you guys. Oh man, that's always the thing when you find out you've been muted. You're like, how long have I been muted for? I'm gonna try and pull that up again. Okay, so I don't know if you guys heard me when I was talking about this, but so if you want to get onto the Arcane University, it is a fantastic place for kind of keeping yourself fueled up and keeping yourself motivated, because I'll go through it again. So you click on the Arcane University page and it brings you to the wiki. So we have a Beyond Skyrim wiki here. Down to the bottom, there's an Arcane University Discord server that you can check out, and if you click on that, for me it's not going to do anything, but for you, what this should do is it should launch your Discord, and then it should bring you over here to the Discord server, and then you can click to join into the server. And the fantastic thing about this thing, so Arcane University is a server for people who are learning the creation kit. They're learning how to Skyrim mod with the intention of eventually making a contribution towards the Beyond Skyrim project. And it doesn't mean that you're like limited to like only doing Beyond Skyrim stuff. You can totally, you know, make your own mods. Use this to help you gain that knowledge about how to make mods. But the unifying thing about the Beyond Skyrim Arcane University is that it's made with the intention of helping people get into working on Beyond Skyrim. And so there's tons of projects. Like if I go back to here, you can see the projects. And these ones, you apply to each individual project to see if you can get into there. I've only ever applied to Cyrodiil. Spaceman was saying in chat that they got onto the Iliad Bay one, and they also got onto the Black Marsh one. So that's pretty cool. There, you can, you know, I'm almost like, damn, I should check those out because it'd be cool to see just where they are in terms of progress and stuff. But yeah. But yeah, if you're interested in learning this stuff and you want something to kind of help you motivate yourself, one of the best ways that I found for using these things, because I use the Cyrodiil Discord, and I'm not going to click it because I don't know what's going to show you guys, but what these Discords are great for, in my mind, is motivating you and sort of giving you that positive feedback. So if you post a screenshot or something, people are going to be positive, and they're going to be like, that's cool, that's awesome, keep going. It's a very positive and motivating community, and yeah, you're definitely welcome to check that out, welcome to get involved. It's a very open, public project that we're all working on together, and I think we would be very happy to have more hands on deck, more people building it out, because the more people we have working on it, the sooner it gets finished. Alright, so I am working on a Lich here, and I want to give him a staff. So it's going to be a certain staff. I think the last one I saw one Lich with it was like a shock staff, and it just murdered my the level 1 character I use for testing. Do they have spells? They do. Cyrodiil Lich spell, Aliath Lich list. So they have a list of spells there, and then Real Quest boss description. I think I'm gonna get rid of that because I don't want it to have that one. Absorb Health Cloak. That is cool. I'm gonna leave them with that. So they're gonna have those spells, and I'm gonna give them a staff. It's always nice to give them staffs. I'm kind of tempted to give it the Lightning Bolt staff, because Lightning Bolts are just super cool. They're so powerful though. Let me see, who uses a staff here? We have a couple lists. Leveled items. Oh, okay, so we go item, staff, Lightning Bolt. 50, is that like a 50% chance? Or is it level 50? Yeah, it's a 50% chance of having the Cyrodiil staff, Lightning Bolt. So I'm just going to add the item specifically. I'm not going to use these L item stuff. I'm going to put that on for now. What's Incinerate though? I'm very curious. Incinerate. Let's see what that one looks like. Ooh, I do like that. What's it look like? Preview. Yeah, I think this is the thing I want. It's just gonna be this killer staff. We'll see how it does. I love the idea of a fire. I imagine Incinerate is like a fireball, and I think those are just awesome. The kinds of effects that you see. I just have to think if I want to do a fireball specifically or something else, because Yeah, I'll do Fireball. It's interesting to see that, I think. And then they're going to have a little bit less gold because they have that staff. It's for like 240. And then I have to change your name. His name's going to be Weir Aeon. For now. We'll see how that goes. And I think that's pretty good. Check your stats. So you start at level 50 at minimum. You go up to 999. And you're a Dragon Priest class. Interesting. So default, you have 1,000 health. That's a lot of health. Liches are serious business. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Let's see, here's my Lich Weir Aeon. It's gonna hang out here. What I'm gonna do eventually is I'm gonna hook it up to a script that I'm gonna set up where he won't appear until you like get up there, and then he'll probably have some kind of effect that happens. That's my plan. Because I mean that might be interesting. Yeah, I think that's probably the thing that makes the most sense. Be either up there or somewhere else. Otherwise, where would he be? Yeah, there's not really any other rooms, I don't think. Maybe this room. This might actually be a decent room. Oh wow, that might actually be quite a good room for a Lich. I might put the Lich here too, just to see how that goes. And I need some lighting. Actually, I think I want the other lighting. Cube light. Alright, I think I'm going to work on this room for a little bit. And what I want to do with this one is definitely, let's get some pillars in here. Pillars are a great way to close in the space. Yeah, I'm gonna fit these pillars in to the roof here. Ooh, this is starting to take shape. There's just like a little crease here. I'll have to put a bit of rubble. Grab one of these ones. Starting to think of what I might play after the stream. I'm almost thinking I might play The Sims. Sims is a fun game. I've actually been a huge fan of The Sims for a long time. I love it. I'm a huge fan of like any game that has tons of modding. I think those are the most fantastic games because cool thing about modding is we don't have to rely on the developers being like able to anticipate everything we want to do with the game. So the great thing about mods is we can shape the game, we can make it our own. That doesn't quite fit, it's not quite the right one. It's some Cyrodiil rubble. Yeah, some rubble piles. Yeah, kind of a flat one. think there's some small ones. Yeah, this will work better. I think what I'll do is I'm gonna put like one on that side and then one on the other side. There we go, that looks good. I'm happy with that. Just need to clean up a little bit more. Yeah. Oh my god, I also have like a craving for candy right now. I have a craving for like... Oh my god, I used to, when I was a kid, I mean, I still am a kid. Well, I'm not, but one of the things that I like, and I still like it, I still like candy a lot, is there's like these cream soda little kind of Coke bottles. And for some reason I just got like a craving for that. I'm like, oh my god, that'd be so good. So if I do put a lich here, ooh, I don't know about that. That might be very difficult. I'm not going to put a lich in here. The lich has to be at the very end, where the crown is, where that helmet is. It'd be wrong for me to put a lich, because you would just like, you would walk around the corner, is how this would go, is you'd like, be like, oh yay, cool, a new area, and then you walk around and be like, oh my god, a lich just blasted a fireball at me and I'm dead. You have to have like, to be a good level designed, I think you have to have some warm-up before you launch fireballs at the player. So I'm going to put some of these lights in to highlight the path so that the player can really easily see where to go. Yeah, that works. Put this one just a little bit off so it's a little bit more organic. Yeah, that looks good. And these are cool. This is a floor chunk. These floor chunks are really cool. You have these in the, this is the vanilla kit for the Imperial Ruins that we recolored for the Imperial Ruins in Beyond Skyrim. And so this kit is just awesome. You have this also in, I think, the Nordic Ruins have this thing too. And it's just fantastic because it adds this texture to the floor. Chunk 2, what's that one look like? Oh yeah, that one kind of have a bit taken out of it. I think that's pretty decent. I'm going to swap it back to the first one. I've got to figure out a way to integrate some vines in here too. I think this would be a perfect room to kind of make it a little bit of a maze with some vines going through it. I just need like a cross piece, like a arch or something. This could be an imperial. Could be a column. Could I just put a column in here? Would that work? No, I don't think it would. Let's see. No, I don't think that'll... I don't know, maybe it will. It's not the worst. Just scale it up. It's not that bad. Okay, I'm gonna see if there's a better one. Imperial column? No. Pillar. This one might work. So what I'm thinking is maybe putting this there. It's kind of an arch, and then putting some vines in there too. So let me see if I can get some vines. I think I have some. Here's some floor vines. Ah, there we go. Yeah, that might work. Okay. And then I would put like some boulders and stuff at the ground too. Okay, and then I'm just going to place this somewhere where it will make sense. Like right around here. Yeah, that'll be cool. The thing I love the most about this part is I really get to be creative and just kind of testing out a bunch of different things. Eventually later on, I think it'll be maybe an episode or two from now, because I really do think that this part of the dungeon, it still takes a long time. I think around 1 or 2 more episodes, and I'll be kind of what I do at this stage is like building a lot of really interesting props, and then eventually I get over to putting them all together and mixing them. This kind of works. So I'll make it like that. Kind of, yeah, there we go, that's cool. So it's almost like a window frame, and then I just take that out, and then I get to build a maze. So I'll copy that, and put a piece over here, like that. Mazes are, I feel like, a favorite of liches. They just go together. And I'll put that there. Cross like that. Do I want to put it like that? Oh yeah, okay, right like that. There we go, that's cool. So when you're walking through, you see that there's like these vine walls going on. I love that because it's kind of intentional too. Like, I want it to look like maybe this lich has been planning this stuff. Like, it's not just like there's these random things, but the lich is actually intentionally growing vines in certain areas. Yeah, that is cool. I like that. And I'm probably going to integrate a few of these. I'm going to drop another one over in another area too. Look over here. Put another one in here. I might adapt this one later on. But it's kind of a foreshadowing of a piece you'll see later on in the dungeon. Cool. Alright. Can grab that light. Another light over here. Nice. Alright. That is cool. Because I think that's a door. I think that's supposed to be a door over here. Obviously I don't have it linked up as a door though. Vanua 3. I think it's supposed to be Vanua 3. So this should be a door here. Ooh, I didn't grab the door. There we go. Oh, I got the door. Alright, this is coming along. Got a few decorations in there so far. I have to work on, I think the cave is the thing that I want to work on next. Because I want to figure out what to do specifically about this area. I like the idea of making it like kind of cramped, so I'm gonna put some more pillars in there. And then I think I will also put like some boulders and stuff. And that'll be a good way to... Ooh, this is huge. There we go. There's the right size. It'll be a good way to kind of make another little maze going on here. From what I know about caves and like any pillars like this, these would really be like, they would have emerged from stalactites and stalagmites and stuff. And a pillar like this would probably happen when, after many, many years, the dripping of condensation from the roof would meet with the dripping of condensation from the mineral deposits that happen over hundreds or thousands of years. So I'm going to try and put them in places where they might make sense. So pillar and then some boulders. Medium boulders. As a way to build a barrier between certain areas. This will make the level seem a little bit more easy to understand. It's important to make a dungeon easy to read, so that it's not confusing for the player. Just like that. Boulder on that side. And I'm also going to back that up with some vines too. It's cool. I've had different people coming back to me over the length of these streams, either commenting on YouTube or talking on Twitch, sharing kind of their context of like how they enjoy these streams, and it's been really cool. I get people saying that I've met people who are younger, I've met people who are older than me too, and I think it's really cool. One of the things that I love about Elder Scrolls is that you tend to have a lot of people of like all ages who are interested in it, because there's tons of people who are younger than me who are playing Skyrim, and the thing that I think is really cool is people will come out to me and they'll say like, oh yeah, I'm like an older fan of Skyrim, I'm like 40 or 50, like we have people of all ages. And like I was saying, Terry Pratchett, he was also doing some Skyrim modding. I think it's just so cool the way that it is something everybody can enjoy. I think it's awesome to hear that like different people are enjoying playing Skyrim, enjoying modding. I'm always curious about the way that modding can help reach out to different audiences. Hello, Cinco. How you doing? I'm always so curious about like the ways that we can change these mods, you know, even just a little bit to make them easier for more people to get into. Last week I was talking about how I was helping build a mod, an arachnophobia mod for people who have a phobia of spiders. That it replaces all the spiders in the game with wolves, which makes it a lot easier to get into a lot of dungeons. And it also gets rid of all the cobwebs in the game too, because there's a lot of cobwebs and those can be difficult as well. So I think the thing that I love about the game, and the thing that I think is really cool that we should always kind of try and advance and push forward on, is making it more accessible, making it so that more people can enjoy it. There's tons of things we can do for that. Like, one thing that I tried doing a while ago was one of my first mods was a mod that slows time, and that mod actually has the interesting coincidence of also making the game a little bit easier if you're not such a person who has, like, you know, like quick reflexes, or you know, even if you don't enjoy playing like that all the time, because I don't either. I kind of like to look at my attacks and moves in slow motion. So this slow time mod that I made is really cool for that, because you can really think about, like, alright, how do I plan out my attack here? What do I do here? That mod is called Slow and Freeze Time. Chat, Neslin, are you by chance from YouTube? Neslin says, here in Bosnia, if you know where that is. Hopefully we'll see gameplay soon, Alien Ruin. Yeah, I think probably next stream I'm gonna start showing it. Yeah, you're the guy. Yeah, I recognize you from the YouTube. You commented on one of the videos. Thank you for coming to the live stream. I have most definitely heard of Bosnia. I'm gonna just open up a... Google Maps just to make sure I know where it is. That is cool. That is so cool. I love the way that, like, Skyrim modding, we have people all over the world who are like, hey, I'm from this country, or I'm from this place. I'm over in I'm in Vancouver. I'm in the frontier lands, the west of Canada. Oh, thank you. That is so cool. I took a history class about Eastern Europe when I was in university, and the professor was from Hungary, and so like a lot of the classes focused on that that country, and I think it's so cool. I think in a lot of ways I always feel sad that like due to the English language, like we learn a lot about certain countries, but we don't learn a lot about like other countries that don't speak English as much. And I think that's a huge shame that like our knowledge and our awareness of the world is limited by the fact that like a lot of us, like me as a Canadian, like we get news and we hear about like America a lot, too much. But yeah, how are things going over in Bosnia, if you don't mind me asking? If you do mind, like don't feel pressured to share or talk if you don't want to. Yeah, I'm just building here. No! Christian get crashed. Have to boot it up again and get it loading. Usually just takes about 5 minutes or so. I'm trying to think of why it crashed there. I think I was really just like moving things around. I feel like there's like a timer sometimes. And there's like an element of chance for it to crash. Let's see, when did I last save? It was... Oh, that's good. So last modified a minute ago. So that's my compulsive like Control S, save. I love how global Skyrim is. Oh, cool. Okay, so Neslin in chat. Bosnia and Herzegovina was settled at least from Upper Paleolithic and has preserved prehistoric art found in Badanj Cave. The permanent human settlement traces back to the Neolithic age, inhabited by cultures such as Butmir, Kakanj, and Buchidol. After arrival of the first Indo-Europeans, it was populated by several Illyrian and Celtic civilizations. Culturally, politically, and socially, the country has a rich but complex history, having been first settled by the South Slavic people that populated Old Country, Mush Castle. That is so cool, man. As a Canadian, like as somebody who lives in, you know, like the New World, it's always so cool to see those countries that have kind of castles and like kind of a stone history. Because like in Canada, we had the First Nations and the Indigenous people who have lived here for thousands and thousands of years. And a lot of the structures that they built were wood structures. So in terms of like history and archaeology, there's unfortunately not as much that we can see. Like a lot of what we do see in terms of like historical sites and things around where I live, and it is kind of like a politically contentious thing, and I wish that there was a lot more Indigenous history that we were taught. about Canada and about the place that we live. But a lot of the places that we do kind of see, because like a lot of the indigenous people, they still live on certain parts of their land, and I mean, of course, like a lot of it was stolen from them by the settlers. Um, I think one of the coolest places that I've been, the coolest historical site that I've been, is in Vancouver Island, which is a place where I grew up. Um, we have a forest. It's called Cathedral Grove, and it has trees that are 600 years old. Like the actual tree is gigantic, right? If you've ever heard of redwood trees, which they're gigantic, they're like dinosaur trees. Cathedral Grove is kind of a place like that, and you can go there and you can like put your hand on a tree and you're like, this is a tree that is like 600 years old. It's been growing forever, and they're just gigantic, absolutely enormous trees. And yeah, I think it's just so interesting because living in Canada, you don't see a lot of things that are very old. You know, we don't have those castles, we don't have those kinds of things, and it's just really interesting. I think it's something that I think a lot of Canadians are like, oh yeah, we want to see these things that are just ancient, like this history stuff. Yeah, I'll read a little bit more from chat from Neslin. The South Slavic peoples that populate the area today from the 6th through the 9th centuries. In the 12th century, the Banate of Bosnia was established, which evolved into the Kingdom of Bosnia in the 14th century. That's cool. I just think it's so cool, like places where just looking back at like humanity and human history and going like, you know, this is, people have been living here for tens of thousands of years. I just think that's so cool. I love history. Like, I think it's so cool. I've been really into like Celtic history is really awesome. Noslin in chat. Many people don't know that Balakan is a cool place. A lot of old history, old culture, so old country, and story of Dracula. Yes, everybody knows Dracula. Yeah, I think it's just so cool. I love I don't know. I've always been into castles and stuff. When I was a kid, we had these books over here in in North America that were just like, they were so cool. I think it's so funny because it's such like a North American kid thing to have had these books, and they're kind of like this. It's almost like a cut away castle, so it shows you like the castle in like almost like an X-ray of showing like, okay, here's this place, here's the, you know, dining room, and here's where they pooped in the bathroom, and like they showed like all the different rooms of the castle. And I think that was one of the things that was just like, it was so cool to read those books and get to see like that history of just like how humans grew and like developed in these castles and in these societies. And like, yeah, if I ever had like just unlimited time, I think I would love to keep on studying like history and just how humans have grown and traveled and have lived in these places for so long. Loaded back up. So I was working on, I think, a cave. Yeah, I was working on this cave here. And building it out, I have these pillars going on, these root kind of walls, so the player can kind of weave through and I'm gonna put some enemies. Put some... I think skeletons would be a lot of fun. In here. Put a leveled skeleton melee. So it's gonna be a skeleton with a sword. We actually, in Canada, it's kind of interesting. We have a few communities of people who are really into like medieval history, and I spent some time with one of those communities. They call them like Renaissance fairs and things like that, where you have people who like. One of the things that was really cool about the people that I was with was they were practicing like medieval fighting, which is just super fun. You can get hurt doing it, but they use kind of like blunt swords and like shields, and they gather in like these events, I think every summer, to just kind of have fun and explore like medieval history together. And it's so cool because they do that like all across North America. Like there's these communities that I think it's called the Society for Creative Anachronism, and they're a cool bunch of people. I'm gonna type that out because it's a very weird weird thing, weird way to spell it. I'm gonna write that down here. So Society for Creative Anachronism, and it's just kind of, it's a goofy name, but the idea is basically people who are coming together creatively to kind of enjoy different things with just kind of medieval history and different things like baking and tailoring and things like that. Nestle in the chat. People today do not appreciate to visit something historic, more go on vacation for Dubai and other plastic cities in like Canada because it's cold and much natural. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it'll be interesting to see the way that like tourism and stuff changes now that people are more concerned about like their health and making sure that they don't get sick. I feel like there will be more opportunities for some of these larger places like different castles, and I think a lot more people will be, hopefully, my hope is that they'll be more interested in going to like a wider variety of places. People won't just go to like, yeah, let's just go to Dubai, or let's just go to Paris, or let's just go to New York. Like people will want to go to those remote places, those places that haven't had so much of a focus on them. And I think that's going to be really cool because we get to see all of these places that like that deserve our attention. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do for the enemies in here is, it's always fun to start out. I'm going to put 2 melee skeletons together. And then over here, I'm going to put a ranged skeleton. Or do I want to put another... No, I'll put a... It's going to be a missile skeleton. And 2 normal basic skeletons. And they're just going to be hanging out in the cave here. Oh yeah, this is gonna be a good area for the skeletons. I love all these like these roots that are coming down from the ceiling too. That is so cool. Maybe I can move the light a little bit. Get the light on them. Just like that. Yeah. Do the same thing over here. Trying to expand the light a little bit. Dim it down a bit. There we go. Cool. I think I might have done this maze wrong, because now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, you actually come up from this side. I had it backwards, I think. So I'm going to move these things. Newslet in chat. Something interesting I will share. Many do not know. Sarajevo was the first city in Europe with a full-time electric tram. Trams have a long history in Bosnia, tracing back to 1885, when horse-drawn trams were implemented as a means to connect downtown Sarajevo with the city's train station, which had opened on the outskirts of town. These horse-drawn carriages became known as the Green Dragon due to their green paint job and the dizzying speed for the time, and in comparison to ox carts, which they whipped down the line. 10 years later, in 1895, the first electric tram opened in Sarajevo. 1895 was the first electric tram? Drawing its electricity from a recently opened coal plant, the plant also supplied electricity to Sarajevo's recently installed street lamps. The tram line ran from Sarajevo's rail station all the way to the Latin Bridge and was the first full-time electric tram line in Europe. 1895! That is so early. That is so early. Because, like, I'm thinking here, I mean, 1895 in Canada, geez, like, they had, like, I think they used oil. Like, it was, they didn't have those systems going yet. Like, it was mostly, like, I think there were, yeah, it was just, like, animal-powered stuff, from what I know. And, there would have been, like, some cities with, you know, like, some power going on with coal power and stuff like that. But that's cool. I wonder what I'm gonna search that up. So let me look that up. So I wonder if there's like a photograph. Horse-drawn tram. That is. Oh yeah, there it is. So here's an image. I just searched up Sarajevo horse-drawn tram. That is so cool. I've never seen a horse-drawn tram in like a historical image before. That is so cool. It's the early like public transit. You know, okay, in Vancouver, people have been talking about trams because we have a bus line that's pretty good. But the thing about like Canada, right, is we get so much snow, and in Vancouver we get snow because we're near the ocean. And so we get like this snow that ices over like really easily. And people have been talking about trams, like a tram line specifically, as a way to get around the snow for like the longest time. But we haven't been able to get the city to do it. That is cool. That's awesome. I think the history of cities is so cool, and like, thank you for sharing that. That is awesome. I can't get over that. An electric tram line in 1895, like, it's crazy just thinking of you know, it's 2020 and we still don't have an electric tram line. Okay, so I'm gonna think about the enemies to place in some of these other rooms. I'm almost tempted to put like an archer in here, because the thing about the archer is they're gonna like shoot through these vines, and I think that would be awesome. So I'm gonna put some skeleton archers in here. Couple. One of them's gonna be like there, and then I'll have another one around this way. Neslin and Shad. Ostar is Bosnia and Herzegovina's most divided city. While cities like Sarajevo are a prime example of social harmony, it was until the 20th century the only major European to have a mosque, Catholic church, Orthodox church, and synagogue. Yeah. I think in terms of like divided cities, here in Vancouver, like people are pretty like socially harmonious. Oh, Mostar City is the name of that. Yeah, people in Canada, like Vancouver especially, we're quite socially harmonious. especially that like we have so many people from we have people from Asia, specifically like a lot of people from China and like the Philippines and Vietnamese, and it's really cool because like for me, I've kind of grown up around a lot of Asian people in my life, and I studied Chinese in university, so it's really cool in that way. But yeah, our thing is always money. Money is dividing people. Because we have a lot of people who make a lot of money off of property, buying and selling property, and other people like me who have to pay the rent. And we're just like, it's expensive. It's so expensive to live in Vancouver. Try and find some vines to put on the floor. These ones here. So another thing I was thinking of was adding waterfall, adding water to the dungeon. I think it'd be really cool because the dungeon is underwater, and it might be interesting to have like some water coming into some of these rooms. Out of like the cracks of the ceiling and stuff. One thing I was thinking of is, what if I put this water here at the bottom level, and I brought it up a bit, like to here, and so that you have like, yeah, this is cool, I like this. So you have like this waterlogged, it's like right at the bottom, kind of goes up to your heels. Yeah, I like that. We're gonna have some water in here. Try that out. Yeah, this would be cool. Tea and Muffins, thank you for following, by the way. So I'm gonna put these here, and then I think underneath there's like a drip thing. Yeah, there's a way I can do dripping as well. And some water. I'm trying to find like something I could put on the bottom of the water. Okay, maybe what I'll do is I'm gonna put like a boulder. Let's put this boulder at the bottom there. I'll continue to build that out, I think. Yes. So I built these two waterfalls in this room here with some water at the bottom. This is cool. This is exactly what I was kind of thinking of when I was building that out. Just these really cool features to kind of communicate and talk about that idea of this is an underwater ruin. This is a place that in Oblivion it was underwater. Now it should be, the water should be kind of coming in through the walls and everything like that. So that's cool. I like that a lot. Probably going to continue building some of those waterfalls throughout. I just have to find good places to build some of that. But yeah, that's the best way to kind of start building the character of an area is you start to layer on these layers of different things. We have this rubble, we have the roots and vines, we have the water springing out from the walls. I should go ahead and bring one of those. I'm going to bring one of those waterfalls into the other room. Spaceman 2202, heading out. Alright, you will. You certainly will. It will be finished. Hopefully in, 2 or 3 more episodes, maybe. Maybe more than that. I don't know. It depends. I'm having a lot of fun just building this up. But yeah, have a good one. Thanks for coming by. It's nice to, I really enjoy getting to chat with you. It's nice to hear like your progress on your journey of like getting into Beyond Skyrim and getting into those projects and stuff. Thanks for coming by and chatting. Spaceman 202 in chat. If you're interested, do the interiors for Hero's Rest and Amy LaBouche's house in Skingrad, and currently working on Derelict Mine. Oh, that's cool. There's going to be some point where I'm going to dive into like checking out the stuff that everybody else has been doing. I'll keep an eye out for that. So Hero's Rest, Amy LaBouche's house, and Derelict Mine. That's cool. I love looking through the stuff that other people have been building too, because it's just fantastic. I feel like there's so much to learn from everybody, no matter if they've been doing modding for a long time or if they haven't. There's always these new ideas that people are putting into their dungeons and into their houses and everything. Yeah, you're saying you have to do some fixes for Hero's Rest after the dungeon's finished. I feel like I definitely get that for my dungeons when I finish them. What I do a lot of times is I'll get them to like a good enough state where I'm like, this is good. You know, you could play this. This would be playable. And then sometimes I'll just leave it. Like even though it needs some more work, I'll submit it and put it into the project. Somebody else, you know, it can be me, it can be somebody else, can come around and polish and do the finishing work on a dungeon. But yeah, you have a good night too, eh? Oh, nice. Yeah, you're saying you found an asset that's missing in the collision box too. Nice. Yeah, they rely on us to do some of that testing for them. cool thing about these waterfalls too is that in game they have that waterfall sound too, of like the crashing water. It's really cool effect on the feeling of the rooms. Kind of adds this like white noise that it drowns out the other noises. it's getting to about the 3-hour mark on the stream. So I am going to wrap it up. I had a lot of fun this one. It was a lot of fun to chat with the people who came by the Twitch. Big thanks to those of you like Spaceman, Neslin, 22B3, and Cybertor, Fleet Duelist, Linksmoth. Yeah, thanks to everybody who chats, because it makes it an interesting, kind of like an interactive thing for me too. So thanks a whole lot for that. Yeah, and this was a really cool session because I got to go ahead and do a lot of the effects and more decorations, which is awesome. I love this so much. This is my favorite stage of design for levels, and I'm very excited to keep doing this. I feel like I'll probably have maybe 2 or 3 episodes just like this, where I'm just doing some design. Next episode, I might set up all of the things I need in order to actually jump in the game and actually walk through the level, and that's going to be an interesting experience to finally jump into the level in game and walk around and fight some enemies and stuff. That'll be really cool. So yeah, thanks once again to everybody who watches these and lets me into their life for a few hours. It means a lot to me, and I don't know how to express it, but I appreciate it, and I think it's an important thing that we do that kind of stuff. I think it's really cool. And yeah, so if you've ever been wondering about maybe starting up a hobby of level design, definitely take a look at that Beyond Skyrim Arcane University, because that's a fantastic place to start. There are people who will motivate you through your through the process of learning, and I think we're all stoked for Beyond Skyrim to kind of keep building it and stuff. And at the start of the stream, I was talking about kind of my plans for continuing to do this stuff, because I think there's probably about 3 more episodes of Vanua, and then it will be complete. So that'll be pretty exciting. But yeah, so my plan after that is really just probably picking another dungeon and keeping on with this. So next week I'll be missing 1 week, so it won't be next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday I'll be back, and I will continue from there. So yeah, thanks again, and have a good one.